Welcome everyone to the show, Combustible Elements, real talk for real people. Here we try to put different ideas and perspectives together in a pot, heat it up, and get an explosion of knowledge and understanding. We understand that problems can only be fixed starting from the bottom to the top, building a great foundation for change and improvement. I'm Big Mel, and I'm joined by Ruben, aka the Monarch, and Aaron, the Hitman. Let's get started.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for taking time out and joining us again for Combustible Elements. We're a man down. Ruben the Monarch had some family business to attend to, so we decided to go on with the show. Usually, Ruben is that little calming factor in the conversation. So if we start yelling at each other, you get what you get. I'm Big Mel. I'm joined by Aaron the Hitman. Once again, if you like what we're saying, like and subscribe to our channel, leave comments. We bring people on. We talk about multiple topics. If it's something you want to hear about and you don't want to come on, leave a comment. We're also on different platforms. This is on podcast platform by now. I have my own podcast, Health and Triumph, The Struggle to Overcome. And we're not just talking about you turn your toe and then get up. We're talking about serious debilitating conditions and mindsets in society and how to drive through it. Aaron has his show, The Enlightenment Movement. He talks more of, let me see if I get it right, of a spiritual aspect, expanding your mind, expanding your horizons. And he'll talk about multiple topics across all platforms. We want to hear what you got to say. So let's go into our topic today, unless it's something Aaron want to add about his podcast.
No, that pretty much touched on it. Just it's moment, not movement.
I said movement, not moment.
Yeah.
Okay, I did say that. Oops, rewind. The Enlightenment Movement.
Moment.
The Enlightenment Moment. Yeah. I apologize. I said it wrong. No wonder. Okay, that makes sense now. From that, sticking my foot in my mouth, we're going to go to the topic of today, which is, has sports changed and do you like the direction sports are going in? We'll allow Aaron to talk first because I watch more platforms of sports than Aaron does at this stage in his life. But we'll talk about what he has in mind and what bothers him, because I guess this is going to end up being a detracting type thing. So what bothers you?
All right, so for me, I watch more combat oriented sports, and boxing is one of the biggest things that people are like in the uproar about, mainly because the match with Mayweather and I believe it was Jake Paul just happened not too long ago, and a lot of people was mad about that. Kind of throwing Mayweather under the bus, feeling like that he should have knocked him out, feeling like that, you know, it shouldn't have been the competitive nature that the event was. And for me, it was an exhibition. It was called an exhibition. So, you know, exhibition is to put on a show for the people, just like Mayweather said it. You know, I'm putting on a show. People paid for this. I'm putting on a show. I mean, of course, he probably could have got the man out of there, but Mayweather is up there in age. He was fighting a young guy who had some technical skills in boxing. So, I mean, he put on the show. And I think a lot of the boxers, not just the boxing fans, I think the boxers had a problem with it because Mayweather is retired and he came out of retirement to do an exhibition and made millions of dollars. And some boxers who dedicate their life to this sport, not saying Mayweather didn't, because he did, obviously. A lot of boxers that dedicate their life to this sport probably would never make that much money on one fight or during the course of their career. So they was mad about that. And then the YouTuber comes in and makes millions of dollars off of an exhibition. It was only his second fight, and he got to fight Mayweather. But the YouTuber was grinding himself. He got himself to a level to get recognized by Mayweather to actually take the fight. But I feel like that boxing has been oversaturated over the years anyway. It's so many different belts. It's so many people. It's crazy to have so many fighters that are undefeated. People got like 20-0 records, and it's like hundreds of them. So like, who are they fighting to have these records that they never lost to anybody? But everybody's undefeated. Everybody has belts. Like back in the day, it was one belt. It was one heavyweight belt, and you had to fight to get the heavyweight belt. That's like,
Okay, so
oh, go
I'm
ahead.
I'm gonna jump in. I really didn't want to get into a long historical boxing promotion decisions, but now we're there. So let's go there. Okay. Boxing, like most sports, there's always a person that gets the most attention, that garners the most attention. Like if you looked at football, the story of Tom Brady going for a Super Bowl, his first time in the NFL from the NFC side was the greatest story that they could have came up with that season. So stories and promotions make fights. Now, the Paul brothers, because I don't know which one fault it is, I confuse them, but the Paul brothers, number one, like you said, he was grinding to get that fight. He wasn't grinding as a fighter to get that fight because he actually had actual losses before that fight. He was grinding in social media, on YouTube, putting content out there, and he made himself, he had millions of followers. So he made himself a household name to his followers. I don't care what kind of fans you are for what kind of sport. If you have that connection with that person or that team, you're going to spend money. That's the bottom line. So now you talk about Mayweather. Floyd has talked so much shit that people want to see him lose. Okay. People will say all kind of the most ridiculous things. Oh, well, since he came up from 135, when's the last time he knocked somebody out? Oh, this boy was beating him and he should have won the fight. Listen, there have been fights that were close with Floyd that, depending on the judges, it could have gone either way, but that's part of the problem in boxing, right? The judges, you never know which way they're going to go. You don't know what they're thinking. Even if the guy that wins, supposed to win, you might have a card that has them winning by 114 to 112, and the other guy got it 114 to 115 to 109 or something like that. You know, some ridiculous numbers, and you're saying to yourself, what fight was he looking at? So I'm not going to sit down there and criticize Floyd's career. It is what it is. People want to see him. I'm only bringing it up because people want to see him lose because he hasn't. Now he's 44 years old. He shouldn't be boxing anybody right now. He made hundreds of millions of dollars boxing. He has boxers in his stable that he promotes and, you know, goes through the process with. But he wanted to feel relevant, and he said it himself. This is a way for me to come out and make like $8-10 million, period. You know, and it's an extra, they said there's no 3 knockdown rule. There's not going to be a winner declared at the end. This is what they said in the thing. Now, to your point where you started off with, where you said that some people are mad because he didn't knock him out because they don't like the Paul brothers, you know. Okay. But I remember in the early 90s, everybody was upset because Mike Tyson was knocking everybody out. And they felt like, damn, I paid for this ticket and I'm only here for a minute. You see what I'm saying? So you can't please everybody. I thought he did a good job of making people feel like they got their money's worth, making them feel like the other guy was better. I mean, the guy got a couple shots in, but it was a couple shots where I think Floyd pretty much knocked him out when he wasn't trying to knock him out. You know what I mean? Like when Floyd held, he hit him and then held him up so he wouldn't go down. Now, that's another story, but he was trying to entertain the crowd because it wasn't really, it was an exhibition. This is what it was, quite simply, period. And personally, I think Floyd did that when he fought McGregor. I think he carried McGregor a couple rounds because he was like, yo, I'm gonna get in here and do certain things that's not Floyd like, that may get me hit by this guy, but I'm going to entertain the crowd. He's a boxer, but he's an entertainer. And to be honest, the guys that make the most money in boxing are entertainers, period, bar none. Now, I don't want to ramble, but I am going to say this. Back in the 90s, it was 3 organizations. Now it's like 4 or 5 where you can get belts. And people do hide people. You know, if you got a young guy coming up in boxing, you know, you're gonna keep him fighting guys you know he can beat. You know what I mean? Guys ain't gonna make that money because you're grooming this dude. This dude might have talent, might have a look, might have a personality. So you're grooming this dude so he can make you those millions and be at that high level. But that's what's wrong with boxing. Guys don't fight each other. You know, they're trying to change it a little bit with some of these cards on NBC and Showtime because they're losing the MMA so bad. But guys that would be on the same level duck each other in boxing. And it's not that the guys are, I'm not saying it's the boxers. So any boxers listening to this, I'm not saying it's you. It's your promotional team that be trying to hide you. I know you guys, you can't be a fighter and don't want to fight. So I'm not saying it's you. But these promoters, these associations, they hide guys. They don't let guys fight because they worry about the money. You know, look at the contracts they signed. Deontay Wilder's got to fight Tyson Fury again. How? Like, you just had 2 fights, right? They had 2 fights or 1? 2. And the second fight, he pretty much got destroyed. He admitted he got destroyed because he said he came up with all kind of excuses. No disrespect to Deontay, but he came up with the carrying and stuff, slowed him down, this and that. All that equates to, you know, you got beat pretty bad by the dude. You know, your trainer, you know, whatever. You know you got beat pretty bad in that fight, and that happens. But you signed the contract so you get a rematch, and they went to court to make the rematch happen. And that's crazy. When the other heavyweight champion signed the contract to fight Tyson Fury, who, by the way, Tyson Fury never lost the championship in the first place. That's why he's the linear champion. He never lost the damn belt. The belts are moving, but not because he lost it. So you have this fight set up, and then you got to put him back in. Well, how do you sign a contract like that? Why doesn't Wilder get to fight somebody back in the top 10 to put himself back in the contention to fight the winner of the two guys fighting? Like, boxing is just crazy right now. Yeah, there's no control over that. And we want into boxing heavy. Let's talk about another sport. I know you don't watch it anymore, but you did play it, and that's football. Look at all the rules they have in football now. You know, you make contact to somebody's head, you getting fined. It doesn't matter if that dude, like if I'm a running back, I'm changing levels and getting low to the ground. That's how they draft them, you know what I mean? So I can power in, low center of gravity, make that contact. So if you lower your head and I lower my head and we connect, because I'm supposed to tackle you I'm not supposed to make connections to your head. I'm supposed to tackle you at your legs now so you don't get concussion protocols. So you change levels, I change levels. Why, as a defensive player, I'm getting fined? That's crazy.
Like now it's like you can't go up high, you can't go too low. Like the rules, and I understand like they started changing the rules and they're beginning to help the receivers, because the receivers, like, nobody really wanted to go across the middle. Terrell Owens told McNabb, like, don't throw me the ball across the middle. If you call a play going across the middle, I'm not going across the middle. Like, because people didn't want to get hurt. T.O. was a big receiver. He sometimes went across the middle, but nobody really, especially when Ray Lewis was playing, like, nobody wanted to go across the middle. Like Urlacher, like, I'm not a slot receiver. I'm not going across the middle, because then I'm going to be on ESPN, what they had jacked up, where the top 10 biggest hits of the weekend. Like that's not even a thing no more. You can't even touch the quarterbacks. You can't tackle the quarterbacks. If you touch his head by accident, you're getting flagged. So like, you don't know if you're allowed to tackle him. You can't push him down to the ground, because then that's too aggressive. Like, how are you playing a contact sport and you're not allowed to be aggressive?
Okay, like, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
A lot of people, a lot of corners and safeties are getting hurt because they have to pull back, and you're running full speed at somebody, and then you have to change your direction in mid-air or mid-stride in order to not hurt the other person, and you're hurting yourself.
Now, see, here's the other side of the coin, and I'm gonna play devil's advocate right here. If I'm a high-paid middle linebacker inside linebacker, and that slot receiver running back is coming across the middle, I'm cleaning his clock. Now, I may not try to make head-to-head contact, but I'm aiming for them ribs. I'm aiming towards that chest because I'm going to stop him from coming across the middle. But here's the thing. Even though all the teams and the coaches, they know you're not supposed to light this dude up, or you about to be like somewhere between 10 and 75,000 light in the wallet, they're going to say, you better fire his ass up when he come across the middle. You see what I'm saying? So the game may have changed, but they not changing the game all the way around the board because it's already known. You're going to have to light this guy up coming across the middle. That's how you stop it. So if you want to have a Pro Bowl career, you got to light people up when they come across the middle because they're not going to throw the ball when they come across the middle. Or you got T.O. or Ricky Williams before that. I think it was Ricky Williams where his arms got short when he was going across the middle, and he was like, for who, for what, for Philly. So, you know, I understand you want to preserve these guys and you don't want the headshots, but a lot of those contacts going across the middle wasn't headshots. They were like center mass, you know what I'm saying? I mean, some of them was headshots, but they ended up becoming headshots because if a guy see you coming, he ducking too. So you lighten him up, you hit him in the head and you was aiming for something else. Why should you have to pay $50,000 for that? The dude, he should have had it. That should be like, yo, you can't do that. You know what I mean? Now you trying to bring it to the defender, and the defender trying to make a play. Like, that's like the stiff arm. You stiff arm a guy. Why is it okay for you to be on offensive and you stiff arm a guy? A lot of times they stiff arm guys and then face mask the guy too. So how is that okay? But on the defensive side, if you grab a guy here, and I don't agree with stiff arms, I don't agree with the face mask. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to see nobody get their neck broke. But I'm just saying, you calling it one way and not the other. And the quarterback, you made a good point. You get so many penalties called because a guy take a step. Like if I jump up in the air and I come down and I hit that quarterback, what can I do? If I'm at 295, 300 pounds, how do you stop? You can't. But they throw the flag to put the mindset into people's heads. Now, back to the major point, the direction that is going. The direction is not just affecting them in the pros, it's affecting the kids. Because you know, Pop Warner high school now, when they make adjustments in big leagues, college got to make adjustments, high school got to make adjustments, Pop Warner got to make adjustments.
But that's what I was going to say. They don't necessarily make adjustments there because you're not getting fined in high school. You're not getting fined in college. So like, we want to win these. They have so many Rose Bowls. They have so many bowls. Like we want to win these bowls. So light these people up. And then receivers looking better than ever because you're not allowed to touch them. You're not allowed to jam them off the line. You're not allowed to go too high up on their face. So receivers are burning cornerbacks and safeties. But then when I was playing in college, like those rules, even though they was changing the rules in the pros, the rules in college didn't change. So you still had a mindset, I'm gonna light this dude up. But then you go to the pros and it's like, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to do this. You're not allowed to do that. And every year it's something different. Like they got new rules every year. But I think it's the coaches, the owners. I think it's the owners trying to protect their money because they're pouring money into these athletes. And they like, if he get hurt and out for the season and his contract, I still got to pay out this money. So
okay.
Rules in place.
And that's a great, I'm gonna cut you off, and that's a great point. But I think that's less of a point in football than it is in basketball, because we've seen it before. Guys get hurt because the contracts ain't guaranteed. These owners will cut you and know you hurt. You know what I mean? Either you got to say you damaged goods and you hurt, which you probably won't get picked up ever again, or you got to sit down there and try to play through it. And if you don't make the team, then it's too late for you to say you hurt, and then they don't have to honor the contract unless they go to court. You know what I mean? And when I say honor the contract, I don't mean the team. I mean the insurance company that the team employs that would pay you like 70% of your contract. For football to have that contract situation that they have is just totally ridiculous because they're obviously the most dangerous sport to play. You know what I mean? Like, Baseball, yeah, you can get hit with a baseball, but football, you getting hit with some human being over 200 and something pounds every time that you get on the field.
I don't know. Rugby, they hitting just as hard without pads on though.
Yeah, rugby too. Now you're right. Rugby, they on some other stuff right there. Like you can put rugby right up there with them.
I don't know the rules of rugby, but I don't know. Like they running and hitting just as hard without pads on though.
Now hockey, I would put it in the top 3 also, but they done took a lot of the stuff off. Like you can't really check nobody. You know what I mean? Like somebody hitting you on some ice at like 40 miles an hour, and you looking the other way could damn near kill you. Not to mention you got a puck coming at you like 80 miles an hour, and if you look away, you catch one in the mouth or the teeth, man, you ruin for life. Your modeling days is over. But let's talk about basketball. Basketball is one of those things where you can't get, and even in the playoffs, you can't do certain things in basketball. It's not allowed to be so physical anymore. It's more finesse, and then you have more change of direction injuries. Like in football, where you don't want to light somebody up. In basketball now, remember, you running, you jumping, you sidestepping, you're doing the same damn thing with that momentum, and it's causing a lot of leg and knee injuries and this and that. And you can't really like set up shop, and it's dictated on every sport wants you to score more. And that's what I think is just like crazy. Like the scoring, they think brings fans, not the defense. So defense is at a disadvantage compared to offense. And I'm old school, so I like the defense. I like to see good defense in every sport, defense wins championships, but if you don't mix it in with the offense and you're not pretty when you do things, you're considered to be soft, and you're not gonna win, because the way they call the game, even the way they call the fouls, is different now. So I don't like the direction any sport is going in right now, to be quite honest. I think all of them are soft, and all of them are driven by money, driven by promoting. Even the MMA right now is driven by promotions too. In the beginning, any guy could fight any guy, and any guy could beat anybody on a given night. Now you got mega fights, you know what I mean? Now you got super cards and shit. Now they want to spread out guys and make you wait. Now they letting guys jump the gun. Like, no offense to John Jones. John Jones might be the greatest MMA guy of my lifetime, just dominant. But should he sidestep and jump over everybody to get a title shot at heavyweight, a way he never fought at? Not even a tune-up fight?
He don't want that heavyweight fight though. He trying to see if somebody else gonna be the heavyweight champ, because I don't think he want that. He don't want that smoke that's up there at heavyweight right now.
Oh, you mean with France? Well, see, here's the thing. Even though heavyweight hasn't been getting the credit that is due in a lot of sports, in boxing too, for a lot of years, them boys hit hard up there.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the biggest thing. Them boys hit hard up there. And you can bulk up to be a heavyweight, but you still got to be able to take it. Now, I'm sure them boys hit hard at like heavyweight too, and I don't think he's scared to fight Francis in any form. But when he went up to heavyweight, he wanted to fight for the championship. And my only problem with that is you don't even take a tune-up fight. Like, you should have a tune-up fight. Granted, you earned some latitude because you're that good. But I mean, you're not taking a tune-up fight, and you haven't been fighting in what, 2 years? Almost 3, preparing. So now you got to prove that you still got it too. Like, I mean, everybody else would have to.
Well, I mean, he hasn't lost. So he was going up. He went up in weight, and he still had the belt at light heavyweight. Well, didn't really have a belt, but he hasn't lost a fight. So I think that's why they gave him the opportunity to go up and fight for the belt there. I think back in the day, my favorite fighter, who I think should have been the first champ, was Anderson Silva, because he had the middleweight belt, and he was just going up to light heavyweight because there was nobody else to fight in middleweight, and he was the light heavyweights, like, for fun. he wasn't fighting for the belt, I think he would have still got the belt. That was before John Jones got in the division, and he was in his prime. I think he would have got the belt at light heavyweight. He was going up and down in weight just to stay active. And when he was going up in light heavyweight, they couldn't keep up with him. But
Okay, so when you want to talk about champs, and a lot of times we get stuck on the UFC, but you know, the UFC did swallow up a lot of these guys that were like champs in other promotions around the world. And Dan Henderson is a perfect example. Dan Henderson was a champ in Strikeforce, I do believe. He was the light heavyweight and the middleweight champ. You know what I mean? And nobody could beat him.
yeah,
You know, so Anderson, I think, would have been able to beat John when John first became champion. If nothing else, he was just that skilled, and he had the skill set to compete with John, but the experience, and he was closer to age. Like it wasn't as many treads on them tires,
right,
like
right.
it is now. But speaking of Anderson, how do you feel about that fight he just had with Chavez, son?
I think a lot of people was mad about that too, because Anderson went in there and he destroyed him. Like he made the boy look like he shouldn't have been in the pros. Like Anderson, but the thing that Anderson Silva said is if he went in, because it wasn't an exhibition, this was an actual fight. And he said he didn't want to take it as an exhibition because he didn't want to disrespect the sport of boxing, because he loved boxing as well. But Anderson, I think a lot of people always like, oh, well, boxers can't come over to MMA, but can MMA fighters come over to boxing? And I think the problem that MMA fighters give boxers is the angles that they fight at. Because if you fight in a boxer all your life, you know pretty much the angles a boxer is going to come in because you've been boxing. But if you get somebody that has a different type of martial arts background, different footwork, throwing punches at different angles, it's going to be harder for you to compete with that, especially if they're at a high level. So I think it was good for Anderson Silva. I know way back in his prime, he was talking about coming over to fight Roy Jones, which I thought would have been a crazy fight. But the fight that he had just now, I think he did a really good job, and he showed that MMA fighters are good at coming over into boxing and giving boxers problems.
Okay, now I didn't watch the whole fight with Anderson. It snuck up on me. I knew it was coming, but I didn't want to. I wasn't as invested, not because of Anderson, but we ain't gonna throw too much shade today. But so, boxing is a whole total different beast. So MMA guys, like, you have a full slate of stuff that you do. Like, you know, you got to work in the takedowns, like you said, the angles, because you're working in takedowns and stuff for the angles. So you have a whole different slate of things. You have a whole different slate of things that you have to deal with as an MMA guy, as opposed with a boxing guy. Hey, you just dealing with your hands. I think a lot of MMA guys that are not like high level strikers, and let's not take Anderson out of the equation. Anderson was a high level striker. You know what I mean? A high level striker. You can look at the dude and see that the dude could box. And I think he had some kickboxing matches too.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's different than, say, somebody like Ben Askren or Woodley coming up. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not trying to throw shade on them, but I mean, obviously Askren didn't even come into shape, but I'm not trying to throw shade once again. But he was made to lose that fight because he's not a striker anyway. You know what I mean? And his chin was questioned anyway. Like, it was like, take you down or I'm going to lose. And them guys that go into boxing from MMA, them take me down guys first, yo, they get, and they gonna get hurt, you know, because if you fight a skilled boxer, somebody that, and the Paul boys is another example, like, they've been boxing, so they not trash, you know what I'm saying? They skilled boxers, so it's not like they trash and then trying to come along. Like, this is what they do. But by the other side of the token is, these guys cannot go into MMA and expect to lose, because the first thing you do is I'm gonna take you down and beat shit out of you, because even if I'm not the best wrestler in the world, you not either. You
Right.
just beginning, like you just learning how to fight a takedown. So if I take you down, it's over. And that's the rule for even the guys that's in MMA for a long period of time. Some guys just want to take you down and that's it. And then you've been practicing not to get tucked down and you still get tucked down, because it's not as easy as people think it is. But you know, you look at these guys and you cross over. Not too many guys can do that. Conor, I thought, did a great job with Floyd, even though I think Floyd could have won from second round on. I think Floyd knew he wanted to get a people a show as opposed to trying to take the dude out. Anderson is just a high level striker, and Chavez is just disinterested. Chavez is not even like his father. Like you could see Chavez's father, Julio Sr., he was looking at Silva like, I think I can take you now at the end of the fight, like the intensity in his eyes.
Yeah.
You know, but Chavez, he was one of those fighters that didn't really have a bunch of fights until he got to be like 20-0, like you said, and then here come the money fights.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't think that he's not a good fighter, but he's been a disinterested fighter, because when's the last time he made weight? He didn't make weight for that fight.
I was about to say, I was gonna wait.
He was overweight for that fight.
He ain't make weight for that. It's like, what are you doing? Like, I hate, like, in amateurs, like, I don't even know if half the fights that I had, people made weight, but like in the pros, this is what you get paid for. Like, how aren't you making weight for something that is supposed to be your life? Like, this is like, what is going on? But yeah, he ain't make weight though.
Yeah, so that's just, he wanted the paycheck. He thought of it as an exhibition, you know, and that's one side of it too. Maybe they shouldn't make fights like that, but I'm not going to tell nobody not to make that guap. If you go out there and make that guap, guap. And then you have older fighters that fight the young guns they've been hiding, and then you fight them. And they don't want you to fight them 4 years when you're in your prime, when you give them that work and help them. No, they want you to fight them when you pass your prime, where they got the athleticism and the power. And De La Hoya said it the right way. My job is to knock out all these older fighters. That's the only way I'm going to be considered to be the best. You know what I'm saying? I got to knock out the people I fight now, but I got to take out all these old dudes that came before me, the place setters. And that's just true. You know, so we're going to go to the part of the show, because we can sit down here and talk about, especially combat sports. We're both fans. So we can sit down here and talk about this all day, but let's go to the who's to blame section. Who do you think is to blame for sports going in the direction that it's going? And I guess the direction that we both agree on is soft now. Yeah. You know, it's more money driven than anything else.
Excuse me. I mean, it's hard to say. Like, in different sports, it'll be different things. So, like for football and stuff, it's changing. Again, I said I think because of the GMs, the people that are pouring money into these athletes, they want to make sure they stay safe. They can make it through the whole season and give them the best chance of winning, like the Super Bowl and things like that. Give them the best chance of winning a championship. And for combat sports, I think it's the fighters, because they're either ducking people or, like you said, the promoters, their management. They're like, no, we're not going to fight them because that's going to make our stock go down. If we lose, we probably might lose. So, but then you got fighters that's like, yo, I'm trying to fight any and everybody and solidify my legacy. So like, it depends. So it's all over the place. Who's to blame for those certain things?
Okay, so I got the gist of what you were saying. You was popping in and out. You look like you might be okay. You just blanked, so you're not frozen now, but you were popping in and out. I personally feel like every athlete got that passion to succeed. Otherwise, they wouldn't be on a high level. You know what I mean? Now, sure, it might be other things that come in, human things that come in, a la like Ben Simmons. Some people get in your head and then they in your head and you can't get them out. It's harder to exercise those demons. You got to work on them. Everybody's not hardwired the same. But I do think that the directions of sports is because of money. Like if they can't make no money on stuff, that's the whole point of having that sport. And if they can make money on something, they're going to do it. If they're not sure about making money, they're not going to do it. If they think they can make more money by waiting to do something, they're going to wait to do things. So the money aspect has always been there. I'm more concerned with the money aspect and the effects on the levels underneath it. Like you said, college football ain't playing. This is his own juggernaut with money. But Pop Warner and high school, they're going to change to address those needs to go up to the next level. And the problem is, if the next level is always changing, then you're not going to know what you're doing. And that's for the other three majors: baseball, basketball, football, any high school thing. For boxing, stop hiding these dudes. Trust in your fighter, let him fight. Let your fighter trust in himself, you trust in him. Don't just worry about the damn money. And that's where I feel the direction is just based on money, and that's where they're going. So I want to thank everybody for joining us. Like I said, we a man down without Ruben the Monarch, but he doing what monarchs do, whatever the hell he want. You know, several family is involved. We wish him well. I'm Big Mel, Aaron the Hitman. Thank you for joining us for Combustible Elements. We look forward to talking to you again.